Hey fellow boaters, well today we're going to show you how to service the Mercruiser Alpha 1 outdrive and get it ready for spring. So stay tuned and hopefully this video comes out as well as I anticipate and you'll learn something. Let's talk about what you're going to need to perform this service. So we have everything laid out here. You're going to need some kind of container to drain the gear lube into. We're going to change the impeller kit, so this is something you got to purchase. It comes with a new impeller and gasket and the plates. You're going to need a quart pump for your gear lube to get the fresh gear lube in. This job requires about 2 quarts. We always have a third bottle on a standby to basically top off the overfill tank and to keep it on board, just to once the air gets out, so you can top off the tank. You got to get a prop wrench to remove the prop. This will require a 5/8 socket and some extensions and just miscellaneous wrenches. We're mostly going to use 5/8 just to hold the nut, the bottom there, and the flathead screwdriver. So that's basically common items that you will have in the garage. That's all you need to service the outdrive. So let's go to the next stage. First, we're gonna start by removing the prop just to get better access. So we gotta pull back the retention nut using pliers. Using a piece of wood or something to hold the prop in place, we just gonna undo the prop nut. And then pull this out. Alright. This time we're going to examine our anode here. It looks good. Everything's clear. We changed it last season. The boat hasn't been in the water much. And, okay, we're ready for the next stage.
Be sure to put the shifter in forward before splitting the outdrive.
Before draining the gear lube, open the overflow tank for the gear lube overflow tank cap to hasten the venting so we can drain it quicker. Using a flathead screwdriver, we're going to open the drain plug. At this point, you need to be prepared to catch the grease that's going to come out into some kind of pan, shortly followed by the vent plug, which is on top of the outdrive unit. And at this point, we just wait for the gear lube to drain. This is also a good time to inspect the condition of the gear lube coming out. Basically, you want to see this kind of syrupy consistency, black, dark blue, whatever. If it has a milkshake, kind of grayish, that's indication of water intrusion, and you definitely want to have a mechanic or seals repacked. At this point, we're just gonna sit and wait. Let's give it about 15 minutes, depending on the ambient temperature outside. We're in southern Alabama right now, and it's about 76 degrees, so it should drain out in about 10 minutes, at which point we'll proceed to the next step. Using 5/8 socket driver and the 5/8 wrench to hold the nut at the bottom, we're going to loosen 4 bolts holding the lower unit together. Alright, so once you remove the 4 bolts on each side, There's 2 bolts on each side, so 4 total. There's one more anode you need to remove. That's on the bottom. That's an old Alpha units right here. And to remove it, you gotta pop off this cap right here that give you access to a bolt. So we just pop it off with a screwdriver. And there it is. You should be able to get in. I think it is 5/8 as well.
Oh shit. I wasn't expecting that. Alright, well, it's off.
Alright, there's the final bolt right there. Once you get the anode removed, that's where you got to get in there. And I believe that's a 1/2 inch. Alright, so we've gotten to, after getting the 4 bolts off the sides removed, there's one more bolt behind the anode and another one on top of the forward anode tucked in there. And those are 1/2 inch. Now we're ready to remove the lower unit and split the out drive. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, go ahead. Kind of hold it, get ready for it to slide off. Wiggle it, go back and forth. No, just, come on, wiggle it. Wiggle it, wiggle it. It's coming out.
Oh wow, that's some dry grease.
Alright, we pulled off the lower unit, and I'm going to proceed to clean up and remove the pump housing. This guide tube can be pulled off. There's just, this part helps align the pickup tube to the pump housing when you're putting it back. Go ahead, Andre, clean up real well, and then I believe those are 1/4 inch bolts. So there's 4 of them on the pump. All right, now we're trying to access the pump housing. Use this 5/16 socket here. We're gonna loosen all the bolts up. This area, usually that's where you have all your sand and silt and every muck in there, so it's good to clean it up beforehand. You'll see why in a second. There we go. All right, so before lifting the housing, the pump housing seal, we need to get this seal out of the way, the shaft seal. So we'll use the flathead to kind of get it up and over the housing, and then we'll just pull it off with our fingers up. Okay, so now we're going to liberate the impeller. Just carefully prime it up and lift it, and that's the impeller. I'm actually surprised. This impeller had been here 3 seasons and is in really good shape. It's probably because I never ran it dry. It's the only reason. But still, they age and they set, and what happens is the rubber parts right here, you see how they retain the shape they are? They're not as flexible as when they're brand new. Eventually they get brittle and these blades break off, and that's how you end up getting stuck with an overheated engine somewhere in the really bad spot. So that's why you generally want to change them every other season at the very least. Alright, so we're going to remove the old gasket and old pump plate. So go ahead and use a screwdriver. Just pry up the plate itself. There you go. And we're going to inspect the lower unit inlet there and clean up all the muck that built up there. We're going to, probably at this point, it's not a bad idea to just take a hose and blast it in there. That's where all the silt and crap that it picks up through the out drive ends up. So Alright, so the next stage we're just gonna actually start installing the impeller, and I'll show you a trick how to do that properly. Before mounting back the new impeller and installing the pump housing, make sure you clean the surface so from the old gaskets and any kind of gunk that may have stuck on there. This is critical for proper sealing. Also pay attention, there's one O-ring right here that comes in the kit, so you may want to remove it and replace it. This is a critical one. If you forget this O-ring, you're gonna get water that's gonna go inside a lower unit and mix with oil. It's a common point of failure. That O-ring comes in the kit provided with the impeller, and we'll take a look at other O-rings. Additionally, there's two O-rings that fit in here inside of this mating tube for the pump pickup, and they're also in the kit, and we'll take a closer look at how to mount the impeller in a second. This is the content of the impeller kit. So we have two different bottom gasket designs, and I think they're for slightly different variations of Alpha 1 Gen 1 and Gen 2, so you'll have to pick the right one for yours. For Gen 2, it's a square design like this. You have a top gasket, you have the pump plate, so it goes like this. Before you assemble it, you kind of want to align it, and this gasket goes on top like so, and then the new impeller itself, and then you have two O-rings. So this is the oil transfer tube, that's a critical one, and these two go inside of the water pickup alignment adapter. Again, I suggest changing them even if the existing one's good. They typically, after a few seasons, harden up and end up getting hard and crack, and you're going to lose water pressure and may end up with overheated engines simply because the pickup tube is bypassing too much water. I'm going to go ahead and put this all together on the out drive, and we'll see the finished result. When inserting the impeller, it's important to keep in mind the rotation of the main shaft that it's going to sit on. When looking at this way, the housing facing you from the backside, when inserting, you want to give it a counterclockwise spin like this. So you see the blades, if looking this way, as if it's rotating counterclockwise. The reason being is that once it's sitting on the pump, the shaft actually rotates clockwise, so therefore we have correct spin. It's very important not to mess this part up. Your finished pump assembly should look something like this. So the thin gasket goes first, then the plate, and then the fed gasket on the bottom. So basically we're ready for mounting on the shaft down this way. But before you do that, there's one critical part. You have to make the locking key, which is this part, stick on the shaft. Here you can see better. Without it, the shaft will just freely spin without engaging the impeller. Thus, it's not going to work. To make it stay in place, we'll use a dab of assembly grease. So, it's a little trick. We'll just put it up here and basically glue it on like this. And that should do it. As you can see, the grease is holding it together, and we're going to slide the pump over the shaft and align the spline. Alright, we're ready to mate the lower unit back to the top. Just do one final check, make sure the surfaces are clear everywhere where the two parts will meet, especially this orifice right here. Make sure there's no gunk. That's where the O-ring seats, and then that makes the passage for the oil from the lower unit to the upper unit. Other than that, we have the bolts ready. They've been greased, and this is the part where you're going to need a helper to hold it down, and lots of curse words, so stand by. Alright, so I'm going to pick this up.
Okay.
And try to align it in there. Now what you got to do is you're going to take the prop shaft and keep moving it until you hear the splines align.
Gotcha.
Because those splines right there have to align in order for it to snap in there.
Like a gear?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you're going to kind of wiggle the shaft left and right, just rotating it.
Gotcha.
Until that happens.
Very simple. Okay, let me know when to begin.
Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm trying to rotate it. There we go. Try to rotate it. No.
Hey, maybe go the opposite direction?
You just any direction. In the opposite direction. There we go. There we go.
It's in.
Okay, get the bolts. They're right there.
Okay.
Come on, quick. Just get them. No, you don't need the socket. What are you doing? Just finger tight, that's all. As you can see, it does help to have two people. You almost need it. So, okay. At this point, we're ready to torque it down. So we're gonna slowly walk up each bolt. We're gonna need a half. Is it 5/8?
I believe so.
Yeah. Go ahead. Bring the socket and the socket driver. Okay, stop. Let's switch sides. Go ahead. Alright, we finished torquing down the lower unit. Now we're just putting some graphite-based lubricant, graphite grease, basically on the splines, just to make sure the prop comes off easy next time we disassemble. It's actually quite an important step, especially if you keep the boat in the water. Sometimes the props are basically weld on there if you don't have any kind of lubricant. So what I found out is our graphite grease is the best for this kind of purpose. Just a thin coat on the splines, and you're good for a year or two. Your prop will slide right off if when you need to. So that's what Andre's doing right now. He's applying that. Alright, so we got our ROW drive all set up. We checked the gear shifter linkage. Everything's working. So right now we're gonna use the quart bottle pump and set it up on top of the gear lube bottles and connect it to the lower drain plug at the bottom there. And we're gonna open the vent plug, and we're gonna pump it from the bottom up until we start seeing lube coming out of the vent hole. Alright, so we're filling it up with a gear lube now, and all you got to do is watch the vent hole. Once the lube starts coming out of there, I'm gonna stop pumping, and I'm gonna close that hole off and give it another 5-6 pumps, and lower and upper outdrive units will be filled with gear lube. Alright, well, we got it filled up with lube, topped off the overflow tank. We're ready to test it out. We're gonna start it. got the water flow. You can see the water pump is working. We got the water coming out of the exhaust relief port right there. So we got the good flow. Hey, go ahead, shift it forward, let the prop spin. All right, neutral. Reverse. All right, we're good. Neutral. So the shifter's working well. Yeah, it looks really good. The pump is really strong. I see good flow. Good job, mechanics. I had helpers here. There's a cameraman there. And the second mechanic. So that's how you change the impeller and do the service on a lower unit. We're gonna go take it out for the spin in the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow and see how it all holds. And that's about it.